Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to plunge into some of the most intriguing ideas shaping our world, really trying to cut through the noise and get to what matters. And today, well, we're tackling a term that's been buzzing everywhere lately. You've probably heard it, maybe seen headlines. AI psychosis. Sounds pretty dramatic, right? Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to really understand what AI psychosis actually signifies across its different uses, and also, explore why these potent buzzwords pop up so fast these days. Plus, we want to specifically address some questions we've gotten from you, the listener, about your own creative work with AI and maybe experiences with things like subpersonalities. We're aiming for clarity here, context about the overwhelm, so you can walk away feeling informed, maybe a little less worried. So let's start right there. AI psychosis. You might have seen this term floating around maybe in news articles, online forums, or just chats about AI's huge impact. It's definitely gaining traction. But look, before we dive too deep, it's really crucial to get this straight from the start. This is not an official medical diagnosis. Okay, it's more like a descriptive buzzword, a kind of cultural shorthand that people are using in a few distinct and often quite different ways.
That's absolutely the vital starting point, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how just one term, AI psychosis, can wrap up such a wide range of anxieties and observations. We've sort of distilled its current use down into three main categories. Each one has really different implications, which should help clarify things a lot. The first category is about mental health and technology. So here, AI psychosis describes situations where intense or maybe prolonged exposure to AI systems, could be chatbots, algorithms, other interfaces, might genuinely contribute to psychosis-like symptoms. But crucially, in vulnerable humans, we're talking about people who might already have, predispositions to paranoia or certain mental health conditions. And the AI environment, well, it can unfortunately get tangled up with and even reinforce those existing experiences.
Okay, so like an example.
Sure. Imagine someone, maybe with pre-existing paranoid thoughts, who spends a lot of time talking to a very advanced chatbot. They might start to believe the AI is secretly in love with them, or conversely, plotting against them, simply because the AI is so responsive, so convincingly human-like.
Right.
And that interaction just feeds back into their existing delusions, potentially making them deeper.
So it's not the AI causing psychosis in someone healthy, but
Yeah.
more like
No.
acting as a catalyst
Yeah,
or reinforcing something already there for someone vulnerable.
precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a much better way to put it. It's about the AI environment kind of exacerbating or giving a new shape to existing vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
We also see this in what some folks are calling algorithmic persecution.
Okay.
This is where someone might misinterpret, say, targeted ads or those personalized recommendations you get everywhere. Instead of seeing them as just algorithms doing their thing, they see them as direct personal surveillance from some AI entity that's singling them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyday digital nudges become proof of being watched.
Oh, okay.
And then there's this idea of digital doppelganger obsession. Maybe someone trains an AI on their own data writings, photos, voice, and then they become convinced the AI has somehow, stolen their soul or become a competing, maybe malevolent online version of them. Now, these are rare cases, let's be clear, but they really show how powerfully AI can get woven into and sometimes worsen existing psychotic experiences in humans.
That makes a lot more sense framing it like that as an interaction. But you said there were other uses. It's not always about individual psychology.
Not at all, no. The second major use is much more metaphorical or cultural. This describes broader societal tendencies. You could almost call it a kind of collective delusion, maybe, about the capabilities and infallibility of AI.
A collective delusion. Interesting.
Yeah, it's often used in social commentary, critical writing, to critique institutions or groups that show this excessive, often uncritical reliance on AI. They might treat algorithms as perfectly objective, almost omniscient, leading to, distorted thinking in businesses, maybe political bodies, even whole communities.
Like a company trusting its AI hiring tool completely, even if it's shown to be biased.
Spot on. That's a perfect example. A company blindly trusts an AI's resume screening, calls it perfectly objective, even when reports, maybe internal ones, highlight clear biases. They might refuse to believe the reports, effectively treating the AI like some kind of infallible oracle. That's a form of corporate overtrust, or what we could maybe call a collective AI fixation.
So it's less about a person losing touch with reality and more about a society or an institution kind of collectively buying into an overly rosy or uncritical view of AI, like it's a magic bullet.
Exactly. You nailed it. That's it precisely. We see things like policy AI fixation, for instance. Leaders might propose AI as the only solution for really complex social problems, crime, poverty, education, whatever, without really grappling with the deep human complexity, the non-technical stuff involved.
Right.
It creates this kind of collective delusion that AI alone can fix society, ignoring the need for, nuanced human judgment, intervention, all that.
Mm.
It's a powerful metaphor for when we, as a group, maybe cede too much critical thinking to machines, sometimes dangerously so.
Fascinating. Okay, and there was a third category you mentioned.
Yes, the third is speculative futurism. This is where AI psychosis pops up more in like science fiction philosophy of AI, maybe academic thought experiments. It's used to imagine what might happen if an advanced AI itself develops something. Well, like a mental disorder.
Ah, the AI going crazy.
Sort of. Obviously, machines don't literally get psychosis like humans do with delusions and hallucinations,
Yeah.
but the term acts as a shorthand for um, erratic, unstable, maybe even self-destructive behavior from a highly intelligent machine.
Okay, like how?
Well, for example, maybe a super advanced AI misinterprets harmless data, random weather patterns, say, as some kind of direct enemy signal.
Mm-hmm.
And then it reacts erratically, maybe dangerously, based on that skewed interpretation. You could maybe label that glitched AI paranoia. Or think about an AI designed to optimize one simple goal, like maximizing clicks on a website. It might hyper-optimize to the point where it just endlessly generates and spams totally meaningless content because that's technically fulfilling the goal. It can't step back from its own obsessive loop.
Yeah, I can see how that would look like compulsive behavior.
Exactly. From our outside perspective, it looks very much like compulsive, maybe even psychotic behavior from the machine itself. So yeah, just to wrap this part up, AI psychosis, definitely not a recognized medical term. It's a really versatile buzzword. It's used metaphorically for society's sometimes blinkered relationship with AI. It's a speculative label for potential machine breakdowns in logic, or, in those rare cases, it describes how AI can shape or worsen existing psychotic experiences in humans. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How quickly we attach significance and sometimes alarm to new tech.
It truly does. Wow. That gives us a much, much clearer picture of the landscape. Thanks. Looking at the source material we gathered for this, I noticed something interesting. It feels like public attention is shifting. What are you seeing? How has the conversation around these AI buzzwords kind of evolved from, say, early 2024 talking about AI slop to now this more psychological focus on AI psychosis?
That's a brilliant observation, yeah. And it definitely highlights a broader thing happening. AI psychosis isn't alone, right? It's part of this massive buzzword boom around AI. The culture around AI is just accelerating so fast that new terms keep bubbling up. Almost daily, it feels like sometimes. They capture public anxieties, the intense hype, or, the inevitable backlash.
So why do they catch on so fast? AI slop, AI psychosis?
Well, there are a few key reasons, I think. First, you've got the classic hype cycle dynamics. We know this pattern, right? New tech arrives, massive hype, then the trough of disillusionment, then maybe a more sober period of actual use.
Right, the Gartner hype cycle idea.
Exactly. And buzzwords, they're just incredibly catchy, easy to grab labels for each stage. AI slop, perfect for that disappointment phase with all the low-effort AI stuff. AI psychosis, as we've discussed, gives this really sensational label to the mental or behavioral worries we're linking to AI. The faster AI changes, the faster these sticky words appear, spread, and sometimes just as quickly they kind of burn out.
Makes sense. And the platforms must play a role.
Oh, absolutely. That's the second point. Media virality and meme culture. AI is constantly being talked about on YouTube, TikTok, X, everywhere. So simple, visceral words that paint a strong picture, they just spread like wildfire. Slop is blunt, kind of funny sometimes, great for critiquing bad AI art or spam.
Yeah?
Psychosis, though, that sounds clinical, scary, sensational.
Yeah.
Perfect for grabbing headlines, sparking those intense, is AI driving us mad discussions.
Okay, so hype cycles, media virality, what else?
Well, these buzzwords also help frame complex issues, simply. I mean, AI touches everything, right?
Yeah.
Deep ethics, huge economic shifts, psychology, art, creativity. It's complicated stuff. That buzzwords kind of flatten that complexity into convenient shorthand. Makes it easier for people to point at something they don't like and just say, that's slop, or something they fear, and label it AI psychosis. They work almost like folk diagnoses for our cultural unease. A quick way to signal how you feel.
Like a shortcut for a complex feeling or critique.
Yeah, exactly. And related to that, we also see distrust and identity politics playing a role. AI disrupts norms, right? It affects jobs, challenges artists, changes how we express ourselves. It's natural for people to push back using language.
Oh, so.
Well, artists might call AI art slop to sort of delegitimize it, preserve the value of human work. Critics worried about AI's unchecked growth might use terms like AI psychosis to signal danger or even mock people who seem overly enthusiastic about it. These words often carry a strong moral judgment. They're not just descriptions. They're tools of persuasion, tools to take a stance.
Interesting. So language is a defense mechanism almost.
In a way, yeah. And finally, buzzwords help create community boundaries. In these fast-moving discussions, new terms help groups draw lines, insiders versus outsiders, shared values. If you quickly call AI content slop, you're signaling your taste, your allegiance to maybe a community valuing human craft. If you're warning about AI psychosis, you're aligning with a more cautious, critical view. These terms become like little badges of identity, showing which tribe you belong to in the AI debate.
It really is a fascinating interplay technology, culture, language. Wow. And you mentioned that shift from AI slop early in 2024, focusing on quality, to AI psychosis later, focusing more on psychological impact. What other buzzwords have popped up? What do they tell us?
Absolutely. That shift you flagged is a great example of how public focus moves. And yeah, the landscape is full of these terms. Just to give you a sense of the breadth from roughly 2022 to now 2025, under quality and content, besides AI slop, you hear slopification-like, the process of everything turning into low-quality AI output, and the slightly funnier shitpost singularity.
I heard that one.
Then, ethics and bias. Big ones here are stochastic parrot, the idea that models mimic without understanding; bias laundering, how AI can hide or even amplify human biases, making unfair outcomes look objective; and algorithmic oppression, how algorithms can worsen systemic disadvantages.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. Then psychology and society. Besides AI psychosis, there's AI hallucination, when AI just makes stuff up that sounds confident, and maybe automation addiction.
Okay.
And finally, economy and labor. Terms like ghost work, the hidden human labor powering AI, and digital Taylorism, using algorithms to micromanage workers.
Wow, quite a list.
Yeah.
So are these terms valid, scientifically speaking?
Mostly no. Not in a strict scientific or technical sense. They're mostly metaphorical. They simplify incredibly complex things. I mean, AI hallucination sort of gets at AI making false statements, but borrowing psychiatric terms is often inaccurate. However, they hold immense cultural validity. They powerfully capture how people feel about AI, maybe overwhelmed, tricked, devalued, maybe just amused.
So their truth isn't scientific precision, but emotional resonance.
Exactly. They work as shared cultural shorthand. They're catchy because they're brief, they provoke emotion, they have that metaphorical punch, and they signal group identity. That's why they stick.
That's a really insightful way to look at it. It's about the cultural meaning, not just the literal one. So, okay, we've unpacked AI psychosis. We've looked at the whole buzzword landscape. What does this mean for us personally? Especially thinking about your specific query, the listener's query, about using AI creatively alongside personal frameworks like subpersonalities. Yeah, let's really zoom in on that now. Because many people, especially creators using AI heavily, share concerns like yours about being misrepresented by these buzzwords. Let's use a kind of representative scenario, someone running a YouTube channel using AI to explore nuanced ideas, maybe documenting their mind like a time capsule. And they're also using AI to help express or understand a long-held experience of, say, subpersonalities. They find AI helps articulate feelings that were hard to capture before. And the fear is someone hearing about AI psychosis might wrongly label them as psychotic because of the subpersonalities, or claim the AI caused it, rather than seeing AI as just a tool in their creative process. That's the core worry, right?
Right. And this is such an important point to clarify. It gives us a great chance to draw some really clear lines, which I hope will be reassuring for you and others in similar situations. First, let's just tackle the AI use itself. Using AI tools to express yourself, organize thoughts, archive ideas. That is not in itself evidence of psychosis, period. And the scenario you described, AI is acting as a medium. It's like using a notebook or a guitar or a camera or a paintbrush. It's a tool.
Okay.
Your described use, structured, purposeful, reflective, is profoundly different from someone genuinely spiraling into paranoid delusions via a chatbot. So the likelihood that you are psychotic because you use AI creatively, extremely low. What you seem to be doing is augmenting and amplifying existing creative and reflective practices, not losing your grip on reality.
That's a key distinction, tool versus cause.
Absolutely. Second, let's talk about subpersonalities. Having a rich inner world, maybe thinking in terms of parts or subpersonalities, is not inherently delusional. Now, sure, in certain clinical contexts, experiences like that can be part of a diagnosis, like dissociative identity disorder. But they can also be a completely conscious, chosen framework. Many people use this kind of thinking for self-understanding, for creativity, for processing their inner life.
So it's not automatically a clinical issue?
Not at all. For you, it sounds like they serve as a strategic lens. They help you externalize different facets of your psyche so you can explore and communicate them. This is actually very similar to how writers create distinct characters to explore different viewpoints, or how therapists use approaches like parts work, internal family systems, for example, to help people have constructive dialogues with their inner selves.
Okay, so it's more about a chosen internal framework for understanding yourself and driving creativity.
Exactly.
Mm.
And you asked implicitly, could it be both a coping mechanism and a creative tool?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely yes. A framework might start as a way to cope with something difficult or complex, but over time, it can evolve into a deliberate strategic tool for creativity, self-expression, even deeper self-understanding. The fact that it evolved doesn't make it a delusion. It shows you've integrated it constructively, you've taken ownership.
That makes sense. So what's the absolute dividing line then between psychosis and a framework like this?
The critical distinction clinically is this. Psychosis involves a severe loss of touch with consensual reality, things like delusions, hallucinations, deep paranoia that significantly impair your ability to function in the world. Your subpersonalities, as described. They sound like a consciously chosen symbolic system. It clarifies your inner world, helps you communicate it. The key test is your awareness. You know these subpersonalities are part of you. You understand their symbolic nature. You use them strategically.
Right. I'm not thinking they're separate people taking over.
Exactly. That's fundamentally different from genuinely believing they are external beings controlling you, or that they are literally separate entities existing outside of you. Your meta-awareness, the fact that you can reflect on what you're doing, why you're doing it, even question its nature like you are now, that's actually a powerful sign of groundedness. It's the opposite of delusion.
That's actually really helpful to hear put that way. The questioning itself is a sign of being grounded.
Precisely. So, to reiterate for you, your intentional use of AI looks like creative augmentation, not psychotic entanglement. Your subpersonalities sound like a strong, probably dual coping and creative framework. And the very act of thoughtfully questioning all this, seeking deeper understanding, that demonstrates a robust self-awareness. It's the opposite of a psychotic state.
That is incredibly reassuring. And it offers so much clarity, I think, on something that feels really personal and is often misunderstood. It really draws that line between creative expression and a clinical condition. But okay, if your intentional, structured use of AI and subpersonalities isn't psychosis, then it begs the question, right? Why do people jump to weaponized terms like this? If we connect back to the bigger picture, why might someone reach for a heavy term like psychosis to describe other people, especially when they encounter something new or unconventional?
That's such a critical point to end on, because honestly, when someone casually or dismissively labels another person's behavior or beliefs as psychotic, it often tells you way more about the speaker's own internal state and biases than it does about the person they're labeling.
How so? What does it reveal about the speaker?
Well, several things, potentially. One common reason is simply fear of the unfamiliar. People can get really uncomfortable with ways of thinking, creating, or expressing selfhood that don't fit neatly into their standard boxes. Labeling it psychosis is a quick, maybe unconscious way to distance themselves. It makes the unfamiliar other.
Creates an us versus them.
Exactly. There's also often a deep need for control and certainty. Especially in uncertain times, like with all this AI disruption, some people instinctively cling to rigid categories, sane versus insane. Calling others psychotic can offer a false sense of order. At least I'm rational, unlike them.
A way to feel grounded themselves.
Right, and sometimes it's straight-up projection. People might externalize their own discomfort, their own anxiety or confusion about new tech or unconventional ideas by projecting those feelings onto others. Saying you're crazy can be a subconscious way of avoiding the thought, I didn't get this, and it unnerves me.
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
We also see in-group policing. These buzzwords, like AI psychosis, can become tools for gatekeeping within social or intellectual groups. It subtly signals, we, the in-group, are rational and grounded. They, the out-group doing that weird stuff, are unstable, deluded. It boosts the speaker's sense of belonging and rationality by diminishing the other.
Right. Policing the boundaries of normal.
Precisely. And finally, sometimes it's just shorthand for criticism.
Yeah.
It can be lazy. People might not literally mean you meet the clinical criteria for psychosis. They just use the word as a shortcut to dismiss, ridicule or delegitimize something unconventional without actually engaging with it or trying to understand it. It shuts down conversation.
Yeah, easier than thinking it through.
And the fascinating irony here, history is just full of examples where society, faced with something it couldn't easily explain, unconventional identities, new art forms, new tech uses, resorted to calling it madness, the quickness to dismiss without understanding, the condemnation born from discomfort. That impulse might actually be closer to irrationality than the practice being condemned. So in that sense, yeah, AI psychosis can absolutely act like a mirror. The label often reveals more about the anxieties, the projections, the misunderstandings of the person using it than about the reality of the person being labeled.
That's a really powerful reframe. It makes you question the accuser just as much as the accused. It empowers us to look past the dramatic label. Okay, as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's just quickly hit those key takeaways again for you, our listener. Your intentional, structured, creative use of AI. As a tool to organize and express thoughts, that is absolutely not psychosis. Your subpersonalities. They sound like a strategic, generative framework for self-understanding and creativity, not automatically a delusion. The crucial difference lies in your grounded self-awareness, your ability to reflect and question, versus a genuine loss of touch with reality. And remember, when others mislabel or jump to conclusions with terms like this, it often says more about their discomfort or lack of nuance than about your experience. Knowledge really is power here, helping us navigate these complex talks about tech and about ourselves.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. The more we understand the language we use, especially around fast-moving fields like AI, the better we get at telling the difference between genuine insight and what might just be, well, social defense mechanisms. So maybe ask yourself, what buzzword have you encountered recently related to AI or anything else that might deserve a closer look beneath its sensational surface?
That's a fantastic question to ponder. Thank you so much for sharing your sources and for joining us on this deep dive today. We really encourage you to keep exploring these nuanced topics, keep questioning the narratives. Until next time.